Is there a habit that could be like the king of all habits? One habit to rule them all? You know, when you think about it, there's all these habits that are great habits that are sort of screaming for your attention, let's call it, you know, developing the habit of exercise and eating healthy, developing great sleep habits, developing the right spiritual habits, spending time in the Word. But are there habits, or is there one habit that could have more of an impact in your life and in the lives of others? So I was listening to a really great podcast between Carey Nieuwhof and Craig Groeschel. Please don't ask me to spell their names, but we'll include a link in the show notes. Both great leaders. Craig Groeschel, the pastor of Life Church. Carey Nieuwhof has this incredible leadership podcast and was a pastor for many years. They're incredibly bright. It's great listening to them talk, but Carey poses this question to Craig. He says, you know, are there key habits, sort of, he calls them keystone habits, that have more of an impact than the other habits in your life and in the lives of the people that you're looking to impact? And Craig Groeschel nails it, and he says, what you need is to develop your own personal version of the habit of learning. Because when you have this habit of learning in your life, that impacts so many other areas of your life. Because when you're learning about great exercise opportunities or what that looks like in your life, you're going to filter that down and let it apply into your life. When you're learning about how to eat better, that impacts your thought process and impacts the decisions that you make as you make healthy eating. You're learning about sleep and it impacts your sleep. All of these different things, as you learn about them, then they have that opportunity to impact all these different areas of your life. And I've been thinking about making a video that talks about the importance of learning for a while, because I grew up in a household where we talked about John Maxwell and how he said, you know, leaders are readers. And he's basically saying, you know, leaders are learners. I think that's maybe a little bit more apt, up-to-date description, because there's so many opportunities to learn today, not just reading from books, but it could be incredible podcasts, great sermons. There's always TED Talks. Like, there's all these different resources and information available to you. Now you get to build the habits around it so that you can access that information. So when I think about the gifts that God's given you and the talents that He's given you, it's going to start with the gift, but then if you're anything like me, I've got so much to learn about that gift. How can I take that gift, talent, or ability and actually learn about it, grow in that, allow it to become a strength, and actually have it the impact that God wants to have in and through my life? I've got to go and learn something about it. I've got to go and put practice in place about it. I've got to go and get better at that particular skill set so that I can better connect with other people, better impact other people's lives. Now, I do want to point out here that developing the habit of learning is what I'll call a first domino habit. Or to take another reference from James Clear, when he talks about upstream habits and upstream inputs, the habit of learning is really at the top of that stream. But so many other things need to happen in order for learning to become everything that it can be in your life. You need to allow learning to impact your thoughts and impact your words and impact your actions. You can't just be a reservoir. I don't believe in the accumulation of knowledge for knowledge's sake, right? There needs to be throughput. There needs to be follow through. There needs to be changes that happen because of what it is that you learn. That's incredibly important. But developing the habit of learning puts you in that opportunity so that those other things can happen. Your thoughts can be updated and changed. You can have actions. You can have the impact that God wants you to have. Now you might say, hey, Jason, you know, that sounds great, but I'm really busy. I've got a lot going on. I don't really like to read. I just don't feel motivated to learn new things. I don't feel motivated to pick up a book or listen to a podcast. I'd rather listen to the radio. I enjoy music. I love music too. I get it. So here's 3 things to kind of help you along on that journey as you look at the opportunity that's in front of you when you can develop the habit of learning. The first place to look would be to maximize your downtime. And Craig Groeschel talks about this in that same podcast where he says, you know, you got to find ways to use the downtime that you have. That could be driving in the car to or from work. Maybe you're listening to a podcast. You know, what are you doing while you're working out? Are you listening to something? Are you watching something that's positive and uplifting and allowing you to learn new things? I think it's tricky, but we all have downtime in our life. We all get 24 hours a day. Nobody gets 26. Nobody gets 23. We get 24 hours in a day, and we have downtime in it when we look at it. So what are you doing with that downtime? How can you maximize that downtime? I remember when I was growing up, one of the first jobs I had, I worked at a newspaper selling classified ads. And it was a great job. I learned a ton, but they had this sort of union shop mentality, and it was very much like I had to take a lunch break. Like I couldn't work through it. And it's good. I look back on it now, I'm like, that's really a good thing. But it was downtime for me. And what I recognized, I didn't really like it at first because I prefer to work. That was more my mentality and how I was raised. I just wanted to kind of work. That was what I wanted. But I recognized that I could take that time and actually read a great book and take that time and allow it to be a fruitful time instead of just time that I was was sort of burning until I could get back to the desk. And the beauty of today's sort of connected world is that you have this information at your fingertips all the time. There's always podcasts available, audiobooks available, TED Talks, YouTube videos, you name it. The opportunities to learn are endless and at your fingertips. The second thing I would recommend would be to find a community of people that are also interested in learning, preferably about things that you want to learn about as well. Find a community of people that are going to recommend each other books, podcasts, articles that you come across. You can share that great information. Hey, I read this and I think it could impact you. That's an incredibly powerful thing, to surround yourself with people that also want to be on the journey of learning. I'm often recommending books that I come across, podcasts that I listen to. I love to share those links so that you have opportunities to learn as well. There's so many opportunities, but find a community where it's the norm to learn new things, to push yourself, to be growing. And the third thing that I just want to mention here is that this is a habit. And so I have personally found that my passion for learning has ebbs and flows to it. There are seasons, times, periods of time in my life where I walk through it where it feels like I'm getting something out of every podcast. I'm getting something out of every book that I pick up, and just like shifting and expanding my mind and learning something. But I also walk through periods of time where I'm getting nothing. But I've developed the habit of consistently being in and listening to a podcast or being in a book before I go to bed for a couple of pages. Whatever that is, I stay plugged in. There's a minimum viable action that I'm taking every day, because what I have personally experienced is that over time, if I can remain engaged long enough, I know that my mind will get back to that place again where all of a sudden I'm learning and my mind just gets lit on fire, and I couldn't be more excited about all the incredible things that I'm learning. But I have to go through the ebbs and flows of learning where the passion wanes. But as long as the habit is there, then I know that I'm going to be in that place. I know that I'm going to have that opportunity to learn. And every time that I do walk through those periods of time where I'm learning from everything around me, I love that feeling. It's an incredible feeling. I know that gives me the opportunity to impact more, to give you more tools, to better grow myself. And so I want to stay engaged for that reason. So as you develop the habit of learning, keep in mind that what you learn can change your life and change the lives of the people around you. And that relates into impact. And I believe that you are here because you're looking to make an impact. You want to continue to make an impact or grow in the impact that God has planned for you. So let's develop this today. Step into the habit of learning and see what happens.